we need a motion right now to come back into regular session. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a...
I'll move that we return to regular session.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to Urbana City Council regular session Tuesday, July 21st at 7 o'clock. We'll do another roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Fields.
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Zachary.
Here.
Mr. Pena.
Here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mr. Evans.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First thing on our meeting tonight, we have approval of the minutes from Urbana City Council regular session, July 7th, 2015, and Urbana City Council work session minutes of June 23rd, 2015. Council, if you're so inclined, need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or corrections to those two sets of minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting Urbana City Council regular session minutes July 7th and work session minutes of June 23rd signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. No communications this evening. So we'll move right into administrative reports from the Board of Control, please.
Number one, the Board of Control recommends council authorize the Director of Administration to enter into a contract with the Champaign County Engineer for the purchase of 400 tons of road salt at the rate of $70.15 per ton. This expenditure of $28,060 will replenish the city's road salt supply for the remainder of the year and is in the 2015 budget. The agreement has been reviewed by the Law Director. See attached. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, to speak to this, we need a motion, please.
So move. Second.
Go ahead.
Just to bring everybody up to speed, over the last year or so that we've always bought our salt through a broker. Swap 4G is the name of the firm, Southwestern Ohio, whatever that means. We decided after last year's experience that we would try to move in and use the ODOT program. So earlier this year, we had authorization to participate in the ODOT program. However, due to the timing, we were not able to participate in the summer bid. So we worked with the county, and Steve McCall said he would be willing to put additional on his bid, and we would be under no obligation to take it, but if we took it, it'd be fine. So our plan at this point is to take 400 tons from him from the summer bid at this price. Then in the fall, in the January, we will, well, later in this year, we will take our 500-ton bid from ODOT on the winter bid, and we'll take delivery of that in January of 2016. So everything works out for us on the budget. We're able to come in under budget for this year. Coming in last year, I think we spent $118 a ton, and we're coming in at about 39% under that. So it's a savings, significant savings. So I appreciate Steve working with us and reaching out when he realized we weren't able to get on the timeline to get in the summer bid. So we're getting the same rate. We're just going to buy it from the county on the first piece, and then we'll come back later this fall, late summer, early fall, and we'll take our order and put it in for January 2016 on the winter bid. So that's kind of how that's working this year. Just another piece, just while we're on the subject of salt, you've probably seen the news where the Ohio Attorney General, they filed a class action suit to recoup some of the costs from the overpricing, if you will, from previous purchases of road salt for communities. So Chris and her staff have already filed. They've gone back to 2008. So we're going back. We don't know what that is going to be, but they've already filed the paperwork. Once they get all the, I think it's, what is it, Chris? August 7th is the deadline. So once they get all the claims in, then they'll divide the pot up. We'll get our share back. So everything that we participated in outside of any private deals we made in those periods of time, we'll be able to go back and claim some of the recoup on that. So I guess this is some good news based on what we've had the last year or so. Still not as good as the one that was $50 a ton, but 70 is better than 118.
Good point. Mr. Hoffman, questions?
Will that money we recoup any from the class action, will that go back to a general fund, or will it go back to a road fund, or what's the?
It'll go back to the fund that it came out of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Mr. Pena?
Thanks for working together to get us the savings, and hopefully we won't have to use that much this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't get too much snow at all.
Mr. Thackeray?
I really appreciate the effort you guys put into making this happen, and I love partnerships between the county and the city. This work, so appreciate it. It's great.
Mrs. Smith?
No, thank you guys,
Field? Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, all those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation, authorize the Director of Administration to enter a contract with Champaign County Engineer for the purchase of 400 tons of road salt at $70.15 a ton, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you. And the next one, please.
Number 2, the Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to REM Excavating LLC in the amount of $3,335.85 for the demolition of the garage located at 304 East Church Street. This is the lowest of 3 bids received. This expenditure will be charged to miscellaneous, non-departmental, and is not in the 2015 budget. See attached.
Okay, council, to speak to this, we need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Doug, go ahead.
All right, this is the garage that was damaged by 2 different arson fires. Last year it was released by the county prosecutor after the arson case had been completed, and we were able to start the nuisance process. We did that last fall, and just didn't get anywhere with the property owner, so we went this route of basically abating the nuisance, and then we're going to assess the property if the property owner doesn't pay the bill within a certain amount of time. So that being said, we went out, we got 3 quotes. You see this was the lowest of 3. The highest was just shy of $7,000, but this basically removes all the solid waste that's in the garage right now, which is couches and mattresses and a whole menagerie of things. So that'll get removed, and then the garage will come down, slab will be removed, topsoil reseeded. That's all part of the work. So with council's blessing, we'll get a notice to proceed out to the contractor and get him scheduled in there to abate this nuisance.
Mr. Pena, questions?
No, glad we're dealing with this and getting this over with.
Mr. Thackeray?
Is there anybody living at that property?
Yep, it's a rental property.
Okay. I wonder if the contractor could cut grass too.
The
I mean,
property
it
owner-
looks like it's abandoned.
Yeah, the property owner got a notice on that, so we'll probably be mowing it next.
Okay. That's all.
Mrs.
Thanks.
Smith?
No.
Mr. Fields?
No.
Mr. Hoffman?
I just want to say I've talked to several people over in that neighborhood over the last year, and I told them that this thing was going to take a while, and I think that they think I forgot about them, or you guys forgot about them, and a lot of them followed up with me as a reminder. I told them it's going through the process, so I won't name any names, but there were 3 or 4 people over there that let me know about this almost monthly. So I appreciate you guys working through this. It's definitely going to help that area. It looks pretty bad. It's going to be a nice cleanup.
Okay, any other questions, comments from council? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation to authorize the purchase order to REM Excavating LLC in the amount of $3,335.85 for the demolition of the garage at 304 East Church Street, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move forward with that one finally. And number 3.
The Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to Community Improvement Corporation of Champaign County, doing business as the Champaign Economic Partnership, in the amount of $25,000 for the half-year period of July 1, 2015 through December 31st, 2015, per the agreement between the City of Urbana and the Board of Commissioners of Champaign County dated May 28, 2015. This expenditure is in the 2015 budget. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, to speak to this, we need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brugger.
If you recall, back in May of this year, after a lot of discussion, a lot of work up front, the city, we passed Resolution 2451-15 to authorize the agreement between the county and the city to join together, develop, initiate the CEP. County commissioners acted on it in June, and this is just the contract, everything's set in place July 1st. So we got our invoice, and it's just now time to pay the bill.
Mr. Thackeray, questions?
No questions. I'm glad to see it happening.
Mrs. Smith?
None.
Mr. Fields?
None.
Mr. Hoffman?
Just clarification, we were spending these dollars before.
Right.
They've just been transferred. So for people watching, I mean, these were dollars that were currently being spent that we're just moving from the city to the county to get improved services and economic development over what we were doing.
Correct. This money, when the budget was set up, it was set up in such a way that it could be transitioned
Right.
out. And so the agreement was with, the CEP or the CIC, so they are actually handling the program at this point.
Yep, that's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Pena?
No questions, thank you.
Any other questions, council? Administration? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation to authorize the purchase order to Community Improvement Corporation of Champaign County doing business as Champaign Economic Partnership in the amount of $25,000 for the half year, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's easier all the time. And that was our last Border Control request. We did have purchase orders between $2,500 and $7,500 that we need to have accepted, correct?
No,
Just
they're informational only.
information only, so they've already been spent and passed, and make sure you all see those. And are there any questions on any of those? Okay. We'll move into citizens' comments. Any citizen have any questions or comments at this time? Come forward and give your name and address, and we'll be glad to listen to them. Moving right along, this may be the fastest July meeting in the world. Ordinances, resolutions, we have none for third reading, correct?
Correct.
Second readings, please.
Ordinance number 4443-15, excuse me, an ordinance accepting the annexation of a tract of 2.052 acres, more or less, to the city of Urbana, Ohio.
Okay, council, this is a second reading. Doug will,
This is just the
Go
second
ahead.
reading of the ordinance to accept the Dollar Tree into the city. Be another reading next time, and then it sits for 30 days, so.
Mrs. Smith, any questions?
No.
Mr. Fields?
Did we get anywhere with the sidewalk issue
There's no sidewalks.
once we annex them in?
You guys had that option when the development was approved.
Okay, well, I'm just-
That we ran through in one night, so.
And I understand that.
So.
I just asked if they had
We-
had any movement on it.
Yeah, no,
So I know, okay. Thank you,
they'll get put in with the project we're doing.
thank you.
Mr. Hoffman?
No, I mean, I know we ran that through, but I think it looks nice out there, and I'm willing to accept them into the city with my vote.
Mr. Pena?
No questions.
Mr. Thackeray?
Nothing.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll declare ordinance number 4443-15 to have had a second reading. We have no further second readings. We have a first reading or two.
Ordinance number 4426-15, an ordinance to revise the codified ordinance by adopting current replacement pages.
Do we have to three readings this, or is this something that council can suspend? Because this is just an update of our book that nobody gets anymore to put on the computer, right?
If council so desires, council can suspend the rules on that.
Okay, council, these are the updates for the big thick green book that we have that is also put online. they're ready to go in. If you're so inclined, we can suspend the rules on this one and pass it tonight, or we can give it 3 readings. So,
I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rules of, what is that? 4426-15.
I'll second.
I have to enlarge that to see it.
okay, need a roll call on the suspension.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thackeray?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Okay, we need a motion to put this one on the floor for passage.
I make a motion that we put 4426-15 on the floor for discussion and possible passage.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman, any questions? Mr. Pena?
No questions, thank
Mr.
you.
Thackeray?
Nope.
Mrs. Smith?
No.
Mr. Fields?
None.
Should we go through real quick what all those 8 or 10 are? Does it make a difference?
There is a summary list, but it's mostly based on minor tweaks in state laws. And our ordinances track the language of the state statutes. So every time the state statutes are updated, the ordinance has got to be updated too. So I don't know that there's a need to go through the list, but it will
Okay.
be online.
Traffic, a little bit of everything. So if anybody wants to know what the updated ones are, you can go online and look at them. I don't, unless it affects you, I guess it probably won't make any difference. Okay, no further questions? Roll call on the passage of 4426-15.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thackeray?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Ordinance 4426-15 passes unanimously. Which means I'll get my new pages, right? The next one, please.
Resolution number 2457-15, a resolution to approve a sanitary sewer tap-in and a water tap-in for Allison P. Inskip at 638 Children's Home Road, parcel number K41-11-11-18-00-007-02 as an extraterritorial customer and declaring an emergency. Suspension of rules requested by Utility Services applicant.
Okay, council, you've had a request to suspend the rules on this one also.
I'll move to suspend the rules on resolution number 2457-15.
Second.
Roll call on the suspension, please.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Thackeray?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Okay, Doug, explain this one.
Sure. There is nearby water and sewer, there are nearby water and sewer mains for this property. So we were approached by the property owner who filed a permit application to connect to water and sewer. If you're familiar with this property, there's a farmhouse there, and then there's also a barn with acreage. This would just be for the farmhouse. The barn and acreage is a separate parcel that's not attached to the farmhouse. So that being said, this would be to allow them to hook up to water and sewer. And also, it's in this resolution, per our ordinances, they would be required to annex into the city within 60 days of finalizing the application. And it is contiguous to the city, so.
Mr. Fields, questions?
Did not read in there where the property owner is responsible for, they're bearing all the costs.
Yes, they have to pay all our applicable fees and follow our processes, and then the annexation follows as part of the process.
So in essence, we're just giving her sewer and water and getting a monthly rate. What is that? What would that rate be?
Well, if they got hooked up before the annexation process played out, it would be out of town the 200% rate, and then once it's in the city, it would be the 100%.
So
in
fall
town
back
rate.
once it,
Yeah, once it's in the city officially.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Hoffman?
Now, is the reason they have to annex in because they're contiguous? If they weren't contiguous, then that wouldn't come into play, or how does that work?
Basically, it's in our ordinances that, and a lot of cities do that as kind of we're offering you the utility, and so we've got a lot of outside utility customers that are not in the city, and it's kind of one of those things. A lot of cities do it as a way to bring new customers
Right.
into the city.
Well, I
when they
guess my
connect.
question is if, let's say there was a property that had sewer and water available to them, the example being out on Dellinger Road. If someone out there decided that they wanted to tap into city sewer and water, but they weren't contiguous, would someone out there have to?
Well, we've had that with the John Deere dealership. They're not contiguous to the
Right.
city.
So they pay an elevated rate.
Yep,
But they're-
until which time legally they could annex. But in their case, it wasn't possible because they weren't contiguous at
Right,
this
but
time.
in this case, they are contiguous,
Right.
so it's in the rules, okay.
Yep.
Mr. Pena?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Thacker?
You say there's two parcels there. Does the other parcel have a well on it or anything? Or are we going to be providing water there and they're going to be using it between the two?
My understanding is that the property actually is currently for sale, and they actually, because they're not attached as parcels that are legally attached, they could be sold separate. So,
Okay, so
my understanding is there's not any plan to, if the same property owner buys both and ends up attaching them, then, that's a whole nother story. But right now, we're just talking about the parcel the house is on.
Okay.
We could still have the scenario where if a different person buys the barn and the acreage and they want to connect, that would be another piece of legislation and a new permit application
But
for
but
that.
there's no well on the other parcel as far as you know?
I don't believe so.
Okay. That's all. Question.
Mrs. Smith?
No.
Nothing? Okay, no further questions. Roll call on the passage of Resolution 2457-15. Do we have a motion to that effect? I thought we already had that. Okay, we
We
need a
got the
mo-
motion to suspend, but then we needed to put it on the floor
Oh, okay.
for discussion.
We need a motion to put this on the floor then.
I'll move that we put resolutions 2457-15 on the floor for discussion and possible passage.
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Now you can roll call it.
Mr. Thackeray,
Yes.
Mr. Pena.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Fields.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 2457-15 passes unanimously. You can hook up whenever. And the last one, please.
Ordinance number 4444-15, an ordinance to establish the compensation of future elected officials of the city of Urbana, Ohio.
I'll speak to this one, I guess. In talks with council members and the law director and other people, we thought this might be an opportunity, because if we don't do it now, it'll be 2 years before it can happen again, right? We're going to bring this to a work session. We didn't have it ready the last time, and that's why you're getting it at a meeting before the work session. If you have any questions, I guess Bree or I will give a shot to answer them, but trying to streamline council pay, and everybody's going to 24-month pay, 24-year pays, and that's what this would be, right?
It would still be,
Right.
mhm.
So, Mr. Fields, any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Hoffman?
No, sir.
Mr. Pena?
Not at this time.
Mr. Thacker?
Not yet.
Mrs. Smith?
No.
Okay, this will be one of the topics on our work session then, so bring all your questions in. Make sure you bring your iPads with you so you can figure out what it is. We'll declare ordinance number 4444-15 to have had a first reading. And that's it for business tonight, except for miscellaneous business. Mr. Fields, would you like to start this evening?
Nope.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman, would you like to start this evening?
Yeah, I'll start. I just have one comment. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder about the weekend's activities, but I can tell you this summer, I know it's been rainy, but I mean, I can't remember so much stuff going on in the city in a few years. I mean, there seems like there's something going on every weekend. There's food trucks out. I see more people out, so for all those people that complain there's nothing to do in Urbana, they got to actually leave the house, walk downtown or walk outside, because I see a ton of people, and they're not all from our community. I'm seeing tags and plates from other communities, so it's only been good news in my opinion. That's all I have.
Mr. Pena.
Yeah, and I talked to Doug earlier today, people mowing, throwing grass out in the road. I had a couple of ladies talk to me today. I understand you can throw grass out on the road a little bit, but when you can have almost a whole trash can full of grass in one property, that's not cool, and it doesn't look good for our community. And people do walk around places, and I don't know about you, but when grass sits for a day or two and gets a little wet, it starts to smell pretty bad. So if we can help clean up our community a little better than that, let's do that so everyone can benefit for the beauty of our town. So that's all I have.
Mr. Thackeray.
I have nothing except I'd like to echo what Doug said. It
How's
was
your
a
trash problem?
fabulous weekend. Well, there's always trash problems. But it was a wonderful weekend. A lot of out-of-town people came to town and commented on what a great community it was. And, you know, some of those people are in there buying houses and moving here.
Right.
And that's good. So
We do have a great town.
we do, that's all.
Mrs. Smith.
Even the hot dogs at Carnazzi's are really good. It was a great weekend. There was a lot of people out, and I heard a lot of good comments about it. My second thing is, people, it is summertime. Grass does grow really fast now with all the rain, so I'm sure you have a day off between Monday and Sunday. You can get out and mow your yard instead of waiting until it gets 16 inches high. That's all I have.
Mr. Fields. You didn't want to start, I'll let you finish.
I'd like to excuse council members Dwight Paul and Al Evans.
I'll second.
All those in favor of excusing our absent council members signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay.
Should we split
Excuse
them
me.
out and do them one at a time? So we
You can do whatever you'd like. You're doing both of them. You got a second on that, and we excused them, so. Majority of council excused them anyway. How's that?
Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Fields?
No.
Okay. Move over to this side. Doug, anything else? It's a first, folks. Put it down in your calendars. Bree, anything for us?
Real quick, I'll be attending the Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association meeting later this week, so if you do have questions, if I'm out of the office, that's probably where I am. I'll probably have a lot of good information to bring back to you from that. And also, my office has gotten a call about a scam alert, so citizens need to be vigilant. There are some unscrupulous people out there that are trying to take advantage of our good nature here in the community, so be on the lookout for those types of things. And if you believe you have been the victim of a scam, get in touch with your local law enforcement agency and the Ohio Attorney General's office. So that's pretty much it.
Finance have anything for us this evening?
The state auditors are wrapping up our audit this week or next week, so we'll have the audit report probably in the next few weeks.
Okay. Well, that's DP&L if they have anything for us this evening. No power outages, no big storms.
Oh, we had a new little blip earlier this morning, but had some short outage, so no lasting problem for that. But we'll pass out to you guys. We're starting to do a quarterly newsletter for our communities, for our council, so we'll pass that out to you.
Great, thank you. Make sure Amy gets one too. Lots of times she gets left out. Mr. Brugger.
Got a few things, nothing major. Just last meeting, there were a couple of to-dos that I promised to do and haven't done them yet. So I'll continue to work on them and I'll get back, but we're going to keep picking away, but I haven't forgotten them. One, at the last work session, we talked about, talking around the stormwater utility, and kind of got the feeling at the time that maybe we're not ready to talk about stormwater utility. But I think timing-wise, if you remember last Tuesday or Wednesday, we had a lot of water come through town, and I think it impacted just about every ward to some degree. While it's fresh, you might want to contemplate, the real reason behind the stormwater utility, and it's not a cash cow, it's not a place to hide money, it's a place to look at some of the infrastructure that needs to be improved in town to help take care of some of those big downpours. So probably everything that we might have experienced could be maybe eliminated or at least mitigated to some degree if we'd have had some projects in the pipeline to handle that, some of the improvements we need to take care of. So we'll probably revisit that again, but you might want to start thinking about people that contacted you or what you saw in town that whether it be a manhole that popped up or water that flooded across the backyard or flooded the street. You know, it only lasted for a short while. Thank goodness it wasn't a long-term problem, but it did make an impact around town. So I don't think we want to just necessarily throw that one away. I think we need to have some more discussion on it. Then the last item, the July 28th work session, we had a couple of items lined up. I think we've now since grown to about 4 or 5 with the inclusion of 4444-15. So anyway, we anticipate having probably a pretty active work session next Tuesday. I wouldn't think it'd be more than an hour and a half, but we'll have to kind of get on task and maybe put the easy ones up front and put the talkative ones in the back so we can make sure we get everything in we need to get in. So we will meet next Tuesday. We'll have an agenda out by the end of the week. That's all I have.
Mayor?
Just what Kerry said about the stormwater. I went out right after the deluge of that Tuesday and went out to the wastewater treatment plant and talked to Chad, and he said at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, we were running 7 million gallons, I guess that's an hour, through the wastewater treatment plant. And the old plant only did 5 million. He said the place had been flooded. And it just shows you what our wastewater treatment plant's doing now. And I guess we could go up to 10 million, but it's really working, and it was working hard last Tuesday. So I've never seen Dugan's Run, run over. And as I was driving up Edgewood Avenue, it was out of its banks. So we got a lot of water in a half an hour. So I just want to let you know that the wastewater treatment plant was really working.
Shit.
Also, 2 weeks ago was Park Fest, and it was a big success. We had one of our administrators there kind of started off. He came with his paper and his coffee and all dressed up and got dunked right away. So Mr. Carey really did a good job in performing very well. Also, I was involved in the disc golf tournament, and it was a lot of fun. There was 49 players in the disc golf tournament. Good time was had by all there. Also, Saturday was the art affair, and had a lot of people there enjoying themselves. I met 2 ladies from Lima who came down really to go to the freshwater farms, get some smoked trout, and they had heard about the festival, so they came on in and absolutely loved Urbana. Just thought it was just, the one lady said it was an adorable place. They were here for several hours going around all the vendors, but I sat there with them and talked to them for a while, and they were just real thrilled with Urbana. Of course, they were from Lima too, so I can understand. So anyway, seemed like everybody had a good time at Art Affair. And Doug's right. He just seems like something keeps going on every weekend. So Urbana's a good place to, have entertainment and fun. So,
Fair's
tell your friends.
The Champaign County Fair's coming too.
That's right.
You'll
2
get
weeks.
packed. It'll be packed.
Doug?
Go ahead, Doug.
May I say one more thing?
Sure.
Last year, maybe a year and a half ago, there were 3 large old homes vacant in my neighborhood. Beautiful old homes in Urbana. All 3 of those homes are now bought and people living in them. And not a single one of these people are from Urbana, okay? These are people that have jobs outside of the city. They moved from Columbus. I think all 3 of them actually moved from Columbus. And they said that the property they could get here for the value versus what they could get in Columbus was just astronomical. And these people are putting money back into these properties. They're not moving into them and tearing them up. They're pumping money into them. and they all work, so their tax dollars are gonna come our way. And I'm seeing it. People want to live here, and they're not local. People from outside of town are moving into town.
You know, I met a lady at the post office. She was, we were both, you know, getting packages or whatever, and just got to talking to her, and I said, well, where are you from? Where you live? She said, well, I live here in Urbana. I didn't know who she was. Got to talking with her, and her husband, they lived out in Iowa, and her husband was transferred to Dublin. They took the kids, drove around to try to find a place to live, and they didn't want to live in Dublin. And they came into Urbana, and they absolutely fell in love with Urbana, bought a house here, and just is thrilled to death to be here. And she says she wants to be buried here. She just loves it so much. So there's a lot to be said for this community and the people that live here.
My wife's from Iowa. She said this is Iowa, so anyway.
You build
Thank
it,
you,
they'll
Doug.
come.
That's right. Somebody asked me about a paving schedule, and I said I'd find out. Do we have a paving schedule? I hate to get you up, Doug, but I was going to ask you if you got up there.
Well, our paving's a little different this year. We've been able to pave some streets through our water projects that we've done, and Court Street's coming soon. I think they're almost done with the water services, so that'll get paved. Amherst and Wooddale's finishing up. They were pouring concrete tonight, patching curbs and things where they dug them up. So that's going to get paved, as well as Amherst. We bid through the county a project to resurface Taft Avenue. Those bids came, we got one bid, the county got one bid. It's quite high, so we're evaluating what we're going to do with that right now. So there's potential that project could get moved to next year when we can get a better price. So that being said, those were kind of the paving projects we had planned, but I think there's also some other pavement-related work that's going to be coming before you next meeting. So,
Okay.
But we're not doing a formal program this year like we do from year to year. We're going to do some. We've done some chip seal on Dugan Road for a portion we own. We've picked up some paving in other places, but we're not doing a full-blown program. But my understanding is there's going to be some items for council to consider at the next meeting that are related to pavement maintenance, striping, things like that.
Okay. That's, I'll just
Okay.
pass it on. Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Yep.
They asked, and I said, I have heard nothing about it yet, but I'll find out.
Yep.
So, okay. Remind everybody that our council meetings are on YouTube. We're not flourishing the last time I was there, but it's there, easy to find. We'll cut it short there. As a record meeting, Amy, you might want to put down, if we're lucky, we'll get out of here by 22. Depends on council.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning this evening's meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.